Hello everyone. The film begins with Saski getting ready for her fashion show because she's an accomplished fashion designer. Saski's fiancé named Denny is in the same place with her and seems to be urgently asking her not to be late for his birthday party that evening. Saski's fiancé was in a hurry and before leaving, Denny asked Saski to change the shoes she was wearing before coming to her birthday party, because he didn't like the shape of the shoes, and then left. After this, a famous local fortune teller approaches Saski and tries to persuade her to sit down with her. After sitting down together, the fortune teller puts 3 cards on the table and asks Saski to choose an appropriate card. Saski chooses a card and the fortune teller looks at the card and smiles at Saski and asks her to close her eyes and tells her that this shows her on the card that she will take a new path in her life, then presents a spell to Saski's friend named Andra and asks her to always remind Saski of the new path. Afterwards, Saski leaves with her friend Andra, who tries to read the spell, but Saski gets angry with her because she's always thought that spells and divination are just superstitions and that people shouldn't believe them. Andra tries to convince Saski to walk 3 laps around her with her eyes closed to complete the spell ritual, and when she opens her eyes, Saski finds herself standing in front of a shoe store. Andra tells Saski that the spell worked because Saski thought she was buying shoes as her fiancé asked, and she is now standing in front of the shoe store, and after they enter the store, Saski and her friend find a shoe salesman named Ryo at their reception desk. Ryo tells Saski and her friend that he's getting ready to open the store and doesn't have time to sell anything in the store at the moment, but Andra was determined to buy the shoes from his store exactly because of the spell. Saski tells Ryo that it won't take long to choose the shoes, and it seems that Ryo has agreed to let her buy the shoes quickly, and indeed, Saski chooses the shoes and asks Ryo to let her wear them to make sure they fit her feet. Ryo notices that the shoe doesn't suit Saski's personality and then tries to convince her to let him help her choose the right shoe, and after choosing it, Ryo helps her try it on, and in the end, Saski decides to buy the shoe. Meanwhile, Saski receives a call from her fiancé Denny asking her to come to the party quickly. Saski asks Ryo to give her the shoes quickly, and she pays him the money, but Ryo loses concentration and puts another shoe in the box. Saski says goodbye to her friend and gets into a cab to go to her fiancé's birthday party. On the way, Saski decides to wear the new shoes, but is shocked when she opens the box and notices that there are different shoes from the one she bought. Saski asks the cab driver to go back to the shoe store, and meanwhile, Denny was trying to call her because of her lateness and tells her that the party wouldn't start without her and that he'll always wait for her to come. Saski comes back to the store and suddenly, a water-containing paint falls on Saski's head and carries his clothes and hair. Saski cries and gets angry in Ryo's face because he's the reason for everything that's happened because he gave him the wrong shoes. Ryo tries to help Saski go to the bathroom to wash her face and angrily tells Ryo that she was on her way to her fiancé's birthday party and now she won't be able to go to the party because of what happened to her. Saski grabs her phone while she's collapsed and tries to call her fiancé to tell him what happened with her, and suddenly Saski puts the phone down before Denny answers her call. Denny answers the call at an inopportune moment and hears Ryo talking with Saski. Denny hears Ryo's voice, who suggests that Saski put on his shirt and go to the party. Denny gets very angry and thinks that Saski is trying to betray him, then announces the start of the party without her. A few hours later, Saski arrives at the party and tries to congratulate Denny on her birthday, but he tries to confront her and asks her questions about who was talking to her and tells her that he heard everything on the phone call. Saski tries to calm Denny down and explains what happened with her, but he doesn't believe her and accuses her of lying and betrayal, then loses control of his nerves and raises his voice to her, and all the guests hear the argument going on between them. Saski decides to leave and goes back to the store where she bought the shoes. She's angry about what happened to her, then she takes the shoes off her feet and throws them inside the store, and by chance, the shoes fall hard on Ryo's head, who loses consciousness. Saski quickly takes Ryo to hospital, and it seems that she was worried about what happened because of her. Andra arrives at the hospital and Saski tells her that she broke off her engagement with Denny because of her failed spell going on behind her. Saski was very upset because Denny's family are the ones paying for her mother's treatment for free because they're rich, and suddenly Ryo wakes up from his coma and asks Saski and her friend to close his store. The next day, Ryo visits Saski at the place where she works with the help of her friend Andra, then tries to apologize to her for what happened last night and tells her he's ready to repair his relationship with her fiancé. Saski refuses to help Ryo because it's too late for that, and suddenly Saski receives a call from his mother who says she should help him prepare an exorcism party because his life has been deteriorating for a long time, especially after Saski broke up with her fiancé, and it seems Ryo decides to help him after hearing about his mother's problem. Ryo goes to the cafe where he and Saski have agreed to meet, but it seems that Saski has forgotten her appointment with Ryo and is going to visit her mother without Ryo, who is waiting for her all day. At night, Saski goes to Ryo's house and apologizes to him for forgetting the date of their meeting, and Ryo decides to forgive her on condition that the next morning she goes with him to the shoe merchant's market, where he buys shoes because the whole day has been wasted on her and he hasn't bought anything. The next morning, Ryo met Saski and they rode together on his motorcycle to the shoe dealer's market, and after they arrived, Saski was happy to film Ryo agreeing with the shoe dealers to buy the right shoes for his store. Saski's relationship with Ryo soon developed into a close friendship, and over time, the two met more often and Saski always helped Ryo set up his store. Saski's ex-fiancé Salesman watched her movements and told Denny all the details of her life, and on the day Ryo's store opened, Saski was there with him, and it seems that Ryo asked her in front of the public to cut the ribbon for the opening of the store as she was the first customer to buy shoes from him. Saski is very happy and cuts the tape, then tries to take photos of the place and with Ryo too, and suddenly Denny arrives on the scene with his men and asks Saski to go home with him, but she screams and fights with him. Ryo intervenes and tries to stop Denny from taking Saski with him and fights with him, but Denny encroaches on him and beats him with the help of his men, and at night, Saski returns to his mother, who tells him that Denny has come to apologize to them for what happened at Ryo's store. Saski's mother tells him that she will only be reassured by Denny because he belongs to a wealthy family and they care about her health. Saski is forced to listen to his mother's words and tries to calm her down by saying that she will try to make her wish come true because she is afraid for her because of her illness. The next day, Saski sends Ryo a message and thanks him for everything he has done for her and apologizes to him for everything that happened at the opening of his store, and it seems that she felt comfort and admiration towards him. Ryo was talking with his mother about a girl named Tiara who was going to visit him at home, and his mother asks him to think about his relationship with her as it was her family who helped him finance his own project, as they have been friends of Ryo's family for a long time. The next day, Ryo's mother visits him with Tiara, who seems to like him and is trying to get closer to him, and explains that she is interested in exporting shoes and has long hoped to find someone who shares her interests. After that, Saski meets Ryo and tries to give him back the shirt because she's going to marry Denny very soon. Ryo asks him to accompany her to her house, and after they arrive, Ryo meets Saski's family and they spend the whole day together and they're happy. The next day, Ryo goes with Tiara to the shoe factory she owns, and she starts telling him about her project and how she'd like him to cooperate with her in exporting shoes. Ryo notices that Tiara is rude to the employees, and after they leave the factory, Tiara finds some workers staging a protest against her, but Tiara ignores the protest and never looks at the protesters' faces. Ryo and Tiara return home and the two families sit together. Ryo helps Tiara put on the engagement ring and their engagement is announced. Tiara announces the creation of a new shoe export business she will establish with Ryo. Meanwhile, Saski is with her fiancé Denny at their wedding preparation venue, and after that, Saski decides to go with Andra to buy wedding shoes in Ryo's store, who gets nervous when he sees her. Tiara was in the store with Ryo, and it seems that Saski is jealous of her presence and gets very angry, then decides to leave the premises and stay away from Ryo after realizing that there is another girl who has entered his life. After that, Saski goes with Denny to the shoe merchant's market with whom Ryo had business, and after their arrival, Saski is surprised by Ryo's presence with Tiara and tries to identify her and make sure she is his fiancée, and after that, Saski goes home with Denny. The shoemaker sends the shoes to Saski, but his name was written on the shoe along with Ryo's name. Denny gets very angry and tells Saski that he won't take the shoes and won't pay the shoemaker the money. The next day, Saski calls Ryo and she is very angry with him and asks him to get out of her life because she doesn't want to see him again, and while they are talking, Ryo notices that Saski is in the same place as him. Ryo goes to talk to Saski and confesses his love and tells him that they are trying to force each other to marry the wrong person as he is also doing. Saski cries and tells him that she is forced to choose to marry Denny and that she must end her life with him, then leaves. After this, Saski meets the fortune teller she met at the beginning of the film. The fortune teller tells Saski she's not on the right path and then gives her a feather to guide her on the right path. Meanwhile, Andra was sitting in the cafe and overhears the girls sitting next to her talking about Denny. Andra catches up with the girls and tries to keep an eye on them and discovers that Denny is cheating on Saski with them. Andra decides to shoot a video, then she sends the video to Saski, who is shocked after watching the video and decides to confront Denny for cheating on her. Denny surprises her by saying they are just getting married for convenience. Saski makes sure that Denny doesn't love her and decides to break up with him and leaves, and after returning home, Saski discovers that his mother is ill and has been taken to hospital, and on the other hand, Ryo and Tiara's marriage is reported due to superficial and minor differences between them. After this, Ryo is at home with the person who deals with him to buy shoes and tells him that he has preferentially written his name with Saski's name on the shoes because he felt he was in harmony with her when he first saw him with her at the shoe market. Ryo responds to the man by saying that they are both forced to choose the wrong person in their lives, and suddenly Ryo sees Tiara, who has heard his words and seems to be upset, then leaves, but Ryo catches up with her and gives her a wedding ring, then apologizes to her and leaves. Meanwhile, Saski stays at the hospital with her mother. Andra asks Saski to read the letter Ryo sent her, and he seems to say in the letter that he's going to travel and wishes her good luck. Saski decides to catch up quickly with her boyfriend Ryo, and her mother encourages her in her decision and tells her that she has the right to freely choose her life partner. Meanwhile, Ryo closes the shoe store and heads for the airport. Saski arrives at the store to find it closed and is very upset as she thinks Ryo has traveled and that it's all over. Before leaving, Saski grabs the feather the fortune teller gave her and throws it skywards. The feather falls in front of Ryo's store and Saski loses hope. But suddenly Ryo comes out of the store and tells her he was sure she'd come back to him, and at the end of the film Ryo gives Saski the shoes with her name written next to his, helps her put them on, and they decide to end their lives together.
Subscribe and activate the notification bell, share with your friends, and don't forget to leave a little like.